Hi everyone, Amy here, and today I have an encouragement card. And encouragement was needed because this took many tries to get it to how I wanted it. So I have this stamp set and coordinating die from My Favorite Things. I have some mini ink pads. This is the Beach Retreat of the Spa collection of Catherine Pooler inks. And here is a photo of the finished card. And I'm going to show you the many processes and trials and tribulations it took to get to that end result. So I'm making an effort to go through and use things in this basket that I have in my craft room of items I haven't touched yet. So if these are still available, I will link them below. If they're not, I encourage you to use something similar in your crafty stash. But this is just a commitment I'm kind of making to myself to try and go through and use the stuff that I have. Anyway, I have the stamp and coordinating die, and I'm just stamping out the outline in various different places on this little piece of cardstock. It's a 110-pound Nina Classic Crest Solar White. And here I'm already struggling because I didn't, lay that out very thoughtfully. So I'm just going to use the magnet and hold that down and stamp all over the place. And then I'm going to come in and kind of line up some of the little sentiments inside of the little pennant outlines. So these are really cool. They say various things like, yes, and you did it, and blah, blah, blah. And so based on some of these sentiments, I thought it was funny. This is a bit of an inside joke with my little family, with my husband and my daughter. This is kind of a tagline from a show that we watch, and my daughter repeats it in a funny little voice often. So I made this card with them in mind, with this funny, you did it, baby sentiment. So this is definitely for them to get a little laugh out of them, which they did. They found it very amusing. But anyway, I'm just kind of working through filling up these little pennants, and then I decide to get out the dies and cut those out. And this is my first issue here. Just going to break apart these little bits. You can kind of bend them, or if you have wire snips. I think I knew this probably back when I bought this, but like I said, it's been sitting in my craft room untouched, so I forgot. I was sitting there trying to figure out why these didn't line up very well with the outline stamp. And then after I cut a couple of them out, it became clear, and I remembered that it cuts out a shape that works fine with the sentiments on the inside, but not the outline. So you could do like a color cardstock or something like that with just the die, and then stamp on that with the little inner portions with the words, if that makes sense. So these other ones I decided to just fussy cut out with my little fussy cutting scissors, and then I decide to go another route with the dies a little bit later on in this card. So this is mistake number one. Completely forgot. Even though it's a coordinating die, it kind of is, but it isn't, I guess, because it doesn't cut out the outline stamp. It just cuts out the shape of the pennant and like the other little added piece, and then you can stamp in it. And there I was just covering up my little mistake with a white gel pen. So here I decide to try the dies as intended, and I have these little scraps of pattern paper. So I cut out a bunch of different pattern paper and color cardstock, and you can see you have that extra little strip option as well. So you can really customize these pennants, and you can leave them kind of blank, or then you could come in with the little words and stamp on top of it if it's not too busy or something like that. So I hope that makes sense as you're looking at it. But now I have this big collection of some stamps, some colored cardstock, some pattern paper, and so here I'm showing you can kind of go in and stamp right on the shape that you get from the die cut, or you could then stamp out the outline and stamp within it. And then here I have this stamp set that I'm going to use just to stamp the baby on the one pennant. Now, here's my initial thought process, was using this striped spiral stencil from A Colorful Life Designs to create the background for this card. So I grab, a red ink pad, and I start, ink blending this down directly on a card base, thinking that I'm going to kind of configure the pennants on top of that. So I'm just kind of working through heavier handed in the center and then going lighter handed as I go outward, and then just kind of toning down along the edges and kind of creating a vignette by coming in with some residual ink. Didn't like how it looked with the pennants, so now I'm going to try another stencil. This is called Shards, and it has even more open spaces because I thought maybe laying down more red was the issue. So I'm doing the same thing here, kind of heavier handed in spots, and lighter handed in others, and just kind of working through the composition. And again, I don't like it. It just doesn't, I don't know, it's not what I'm going for. It doesn't stand out enough. So now I'm striking out again. I decided to go into my chocolate box full of card bases or card panels to see if there's anything in here that will work, because I'm just striking out and I don't know what my block is. I just can't figure out the look I'm going for, but I just knew everything I've done thus far wasn't it. So the stencils are gorgeous. They create obviously gorgeous backgrounds, but it just wasn't the look I was going for. So striking out here, not seeing anything, kind of wanted red, and then I decided, I'm just gonna do something else. So I grabbed some color cardstock. This is just lightweight and expensive red color cardstock, and I decided to run it through this We Are Memory Keepers 3D embossing folder, and I run it off screen through my die cutting machine, and voila, this is the right direction. This is the direction I'm going for. So I kind of lay out the pennants how I want them, some without stamping and some with, and then I use my press and seal to kind of hold it down and keep it, pretty much in the place where I want to attach them onto the card. And I did attach that panel. I did cut it down slightly smaller than A2 size, and attached it to a card base of 110-pound Neenah Classic Crest. And I'm using liquid glue on the farthest back layers, so the 2 layers that are going to sit flush on this card panel. I did liquid glue, and I'm just going to cut this down because it's kind of too much. But I'm going to carefully lay this back over and then press down the ones that have liquid glue so that they have a moment to adhere to the background. And then I will carefully lift up the others and then just pop them up with some dimension with these little foam circle dots. So finally it's coming together as I intended, but as you saw, it took many, many different tries to kind of get the look that I was going for. This one I'm going to do a couple little foam dots just to make sure it stands up nice and well. But finally get all these little pieces down and get the look that I'm going for. Decided I want to pull that one up maybe and move it just a little bit over without marring the cardstock. Oopsies. Anyway, then these I'm going to load up in my card box for future use. I have all these little extra things that I'm going to put in my critter book, so these will be, available for future cards as well. This is my storage solution for critters. I have one for my sentiments, but I'll have those ready to go for future cards, and I added some blingage, and there you go. So you did it, baby. I'm saying this to myself. I did it, baby. I finally made it. I persevered. That was a bit of a trouble, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this card today. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I appreciate you spending time with me today. I'll check you next time. Bye.